Today, we are going to be talking all things womanhood, momhood, because it's Women's Month.
Women's History
And
Month.
it should be Women's Month every month. Because I feel that we really, really run the world. But before we get started, let's talk what we're obsessed about this week.
Well, why don't you start? What are you obsessed with this week?
Me? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I started this book yesterday called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, see, Samir read that. Yeah.
It's about tiny changes that you can make for huge
Hmm.
results.
Hmm.
And for 2024, one of my biggest like goals that I wanted to have, I usually read a lot, but I really want to make sure that every month I'm reading something that's gonna
Hmm.
help me become a better version of myself.
Hmm.
And I can report that January and February it didn't happen. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna throw my resolution out the
No.
door. I started thinking about it yesterday that I finally had some. January and February were
Yeah.
insane.
See, see.
So yesterday I had some downtime and I was gonna put on a show. And I'm like, you know what? My New Year's resolution was to read a book that would,
Hmm.
help me become a
Hmm.
better version of myself. And I put down the control. I opened up my phone. I downloaded the book, and I started reading it. And I can say I'm like 5 chapters in, and I'm very interested. It's
Oh,
very, very
nice.
good.
Okay.
Está
Yeah.
bueno. So once I'm done with it, I'm gonna read it. But it's a bestseller. It has insanely good reviews. So
Okay.
I'm so far
Okay.
I'm
So,
obsessed.
okay. Well, good. Good. I like that one.
Yes.
So, which by the way, Samir read that book, and I think he might have seen the author in like one of those like talks. He went to a conference or something, and I think that he was brought into one of those big conferences that he attended, and he said it was fantastic. He actually has it, and I think he gives it to some of his reps when they join. He's given them to them for them to like take a look at it. But yeah, I heard it's really, really good. I haven't read it, but good. Kudos for you for taking the time to start the remote control and read.
Read.
And read.
And pick up my New Year's resolution.
Sure. Yes, yes. It's okay. I mean, you started it. That's the whole point. Um,
Yes.
but I am obsessed with so this week, the last week we traveled. I feel like I'm still exhausted from the traveling. I didn't realize how tired I was. But I am obsessed with just national parks in general and hiking. I did not grow up as a hiker
No, at
at all,
all.
or an outdoorsy person at all. In Barranquilla, it was very hot, so I feel like we were never. Oh, we were outside
At the
playing, but
beach or the
we
pool.
at the beach or the pool, but it wasn't like, oh, let's walk around aimlessly to look at landscapes. That wasn't a thing. So we realize how unprepared we are when it comes to hiking in terms of like especially my husband's shoes, they were flat. He se estaba resbalando and like realized like we were carrying stuff like our jackets and things, and we saw people with like the actual like water things like the backpacks. So we realized we are not prepared for that, but I we did like a 4 hour hike and going there and then coming back obviously it was about 2 hour hike getting to the falls and then coming back. Um but I'm obsessed. We didn't even feel it. I didn't even realize how long it had been. I was surprised that my 12-year-old, who is más floja que la
Get that
quijada de
Cali.
arriba. Es tan floja, pero she did it and she loved it. She said it was worth it. She said it was one of the highlights of her trip. My husband loved it. So I am obsessed now. We now are proud owners of an annual pass of America the Beautiful for all the national parks. So we have a whole year that we could just go to any national park, and we are owners of an annual pass.
Okay, intermission. A few episodes back, I said that my sister was crunchy granola, and this is where she just supersized herself into the realm of extra crunchy.
No,
Now she's gonna be
um,
hiking every single weekend.
I am going to make it a point to go to these national parks because first of all, I think that we don't realize, and I love that people, I mean, I love to travel, and people love to think about, oh, I'm going to travel to these like Fiji and Thailand. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go to Fiji and Thailand. But we live in a country where it has literally so many beautiful landscapes. You have all the way from beaches, all the way to mountains, and, just all the way to think about it, Alaska, Hawaii. Like we live in a country where it's just rich in so many things. And the national parks are one of those. So for me, I was like, I'm going to make it a point to just try to really get to see the beautiful things that our country has to offer. And when I say our country, dual citizenship and everything, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating on my birth country, but it's beautiful. I mean, the things that we saw, it like the contrast of in Bryce Canyon, the Grand Canyon, it was just amazing. So obsessed. I'm gonna be hiking now. I mean, to the store. Not in 100. Let me get this straight. Not in 100-degree weather. So when triple digits hit, I am not leaving my house. I am outdoorsy, but I'm not that outdoorsy. So triple digits will be done. This was nice. Okay, it was 65, 50s, 40s. I can do that.
Now, I must say, it's interesting that you talk about, this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, pero that you're talking about how we live in a country that has so many things. I watched a video the other day of a European lady talking about the fact that, you know, unpopular opinion, but Europeans like to say that Americans are not traveled,
Mm-hmm.
but like they have so like Americans have so many places to go within their
Your
country, and
country?
how it can take so long to go from one end to the other, and you can go from Miami, which is a beach, to you know
Utah.
a national park, or go to Utah, Moab, in the middle of the desert. And
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna take you so long versus going from Paris to London the same
Mm-hmm.
day, or like just
Mm-hmm.
getting in a train and going between Italy and Germany in like a very short amount of time, where that's something that you know considered well traveled, just
Right.
because you're going between countries, not realizing that this country, America, is so big, so rich, so many different places, so many different things
Yes.
that you can see. So it's interesting that you bring it up, because I literally saw this like 2 days ago, and it's really so true.
Yes.
Can't wait to see your journey of hiking.
Yes. Yes. I am excited for my journey of
I
hiking.
have a feeling you already bought shoes, or they're in your car, and the little
Not
backpack with the waters in your
Not
cart.
yet, not yet. I do have the water backpack because my husband mountain biking. He does mountain bike, so we do have the little backpack. We do have some shoes that we just didn't bring them because it was a lot of heavy baggage to go. But now we know if we're gonna go planning a hiking, we just get everything, and that will be our sole purpose. Our luggage will just be filled with like probably hiking shoes and walking sticks and things like that.
With her granola in there and her sea
With
moss.
my granola
Some sea nuts.
and my power bar for energy. So yeah.
I'm super into it though, because once in a while it has to be fun, and you know,
Yeah.
super happy that you guys found that as a family to be a fun experience.
Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
today we're going to talk about a little bit of different topics about women in the world, because it is Women's Month. My
Mm-hmm.
sister and I both have daughters.
Mm-hmm.
She has a 12-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. Sometimes I think they have the same attitude, even though there's so much distance between them. But they match themselves with attitude.
Yes.
And I feel that currently in the world overall, specifically, you know, in the microcosm of what we are as a country, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many things within being a woman that are politicized, polarized,
Mm-hmm.
and it really, during this month specifically, but really all throughout our life, it's really become um, very big for us to be able to have conversations with our daughters and with women overall, um, that are gonna help make this world a better place
Yeah.
for our daughters to
Of
live
course.
and to grow and progress. And when they're adults, they can do the same for their daughters.
Yes.
So, you know, without being in the, without right or wrong or whatever, right now the world is the United States is facing these big issues and big
More
politically
conversations.
about
Yes.
the women's body.
Yes.
So we feel this
Productive rights. Yeah.
reproductive rights. And my sister and I have both faced instances where we've had to face
Decisions.
decisions
Tough
in
ones.
pregnancy in different ways. Um, so in my experience, I with my first pregnancy, Juanpi at 16 weeks
Mm-hmm.
was diagnosed with a series of congenital malformations, including something that's called an omphalocele, which is
Mm-hmm.
where his abdominal wall doesn't close properly, and a little piece of your intestine gets left outside the abdominal cavity, and a little bubble grows outside of it. It's right where the umbilical cord meets, where it connects. And thank God they found it at 16 weeks when they were doing a scan. And I was sent out to see different specialists. I saw a neonatologist that was, I scheduled myself to see two neonatologists. One that it was like the highest in Miami at the time, era un asiático.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one that my OBG worked very close with, that
Yeah.
was very good, pero no tenía tanta reconocimiento at that moment. 11
Mm-hmm.
years later, he has grown exponentially, pero at that moment,
Yeah.
o sea, como que era conocido, pero not like the top of the top. El top of the top era esta
Right.
otra persona. So I met with both of them, and I met with the top of the one, que el
Mm-hmm.
señor, un chinito. I shouldn't say that. Un señor, I don't remember his name. But I remember him telling me, you know, we need to do all these tests and blah, 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 because you have until 25 weeks to decide if you want to terminate this pregnancy. And, you know, you have to make decisions fast. And he gave me all this information, and he sent to run all these tests from my amniotic fluid. I had an amniocentesis done
Mm-hmm.
to test, Wampi for all these different things. And he kept on harping on, you know, you have until
Make
25 weeks to
a
make
decision.
decisions so that if it's something that you want to have terminate your pregnancy, we have to do it before that date, just because after that day you'll receive a birth
Their
certificate and a
certificate,
death
a death
certificate.
certificate. Mm-hmm.
And that's a really hard thing mentally for a mom, and blah blah. And I know that he meant it in the best way possible, probably because
Right.
the trauma at that moment in time, there wasn't the band on terminations that we have right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it came from a place of, wanting to protect his patient, but he kept on
Right.
harping on that. And you know, I remember I was infuriated, and but I was mainly my anger was more because se me daban los ojos. It was more because I was scared. I was super
Of
scared
course.
because in my heart, and I felt that no matter what, my son was coming into the world. It
Right.
didn't matter what. I'm you know extremely Catholic, um, and
Mhm.
I pray a lot, and I had in that moment of those times, you know, I had prayed a lot, and I knew in my heart that my son, no matter what, I had already made the
Was
decision that he was coming to this earth.
right.
So I stood up como una loca, and I'm like, because obviamente the emotions, the anger, the feeling scared, because I feel that that anger was a translation of my fear.
Of course.
And I stood up and I said, él puede venir con 20 ojos, and he
Yeah.
can come, whatever he comes like, my son is coming into this earth.
Right.
I, and I don't care what you think. I yelled, como una loca, I salí, and in the waiting room, I hice un show. I'm like,
No.
ah! But, but now looking back, you know, I it saddens me that we are at a moment in time 11 years later where there's women that do not have that choice.
Bad choice.
Yeah.
Right.
My
Yeah.
choice was to, no matter what it was always going to be, I was going to keep my son. He was going to come to this world. I didn't care. But that was my choice. My
Correct. Right.
choice
You
for
were given the
myself.
options, right? They were not presented correctly, and
They were
that's a
not
whole
presented
nother
correctly, but I had the options.
the option. It was there.
And
Right.
I'd rather have the options presented incorrectly than not having the options at all.
Presented at all. Correct.
And
Agreed.
now looking back, I it really concerns me, and it really pulls at mi naturaleza como humana, that women don't have that choice,
Yeah.
or that I wouldn't have that choice today,
Yeah.
no
Especially in the
matter
state that
what the
you're in.
decision was.
Right.
Yeah, not
Yes.
having that choice, or
Correct.
women that don't have that choice in that moment. And I think it's, it's something that's important, and
Hmm.
something that should that politicians should not be able to tell you what to do. um
So think about it. Think about it this way, and look how you felt and how it still brings you back to those feelings when it was a doctor. So it was a healthcare physician, somebody that knows, somebody that gives you medically the option and tells you these are your options laid out. They're the experts in their field. They know what they're talking about, and they provide you with what we would consider, quote unquote, a safe environment, in the sense that it's coming from a healthcare practitioner. Now, think about it from the view of how wrong it is in my eyes. And again, this is based on my opinion solely, and don't, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Now, think about it from a point of view of politicians who really are not thinking about the all of the not only medically but emotionally, psychologically aspects of what these choices and what they're taking away from women when they make these decisions on women's bodies. Think about what that means for us as women. If it infuriated you that you were able you when you were given those choices, now imagine for those women right now in present days who do not have those choices. How infuriating is that? I feel like there's another layer of angriness there. Um, so it is a very hard topic because, again, it, like you said, everything has it's a personal decision. It's a, there's a religious component to it. There's a faith, the way that you were raised. But at the end of the day, it comes back to it is your decision. You made your decision. It's your body, your choice, what you wanted to do, your family's choice. So you made that decision because it's your body. You were the one going through it. It wasn't the doctor. It wasn't your husband. It wasn't anybody else but you. So you made that choice for you. Imagine that being taken away from you. So that to me is scary. um, Very infuriating that knowing that our daughters are going to grow or are facing this challenge of they're going to have to fight about their bodies and their choices and what they are able to do. Yeah, that's sad. But with that said, we're strong. We get this. We're going to
Yeah.
fight this.
I feel that yeah, and I feel that it's important that what I said at the beginning of the episode that we can rule women can rule the world, and I say it jokingly, but really I feel that as women we historically have not been as politically involved, because X or Y, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
I, in particular, no soy la más, go vote or I voted, like, nada que ver. Because, partially because yo no so, I always feel que I was born in Colombia and now I live here. And like, I'm American, but I'm not like
Okay.
American. So like,
Which which is you are, but see. That's another whole
and
podcast.
I
Yeah.
just chuck it up to like no es
Yeah.
importante. Like I live in my little bubble. I'm blissfully unaware of like
Right.
all the things that's above my head. Como que it's cute. Like taxes, tax reforms. No, but recently, very recently, it's becoming more and more about women and where we stand as autonomous people,
Mhm.
whether it's like a situation that I had with choices or situations like, birth control or IVF, all these options that we had when I was conceiving my family, I had given for granted.
Mhm.
And now I look at my daughter and I don't know that she'll have the same
It's
privileges
it's
and
scary, right?
and rights. And the more and more I think that, it's being allowed for other people to tell women what to do with their bodies. And I don't think that's ever healthy, because in a microcosm, it looks like bans on abortion, bans on birth control. But at a microcosm, in the small, then it becomes like, where do you draw the line where women and their bodies are there for people to make decisions for? Like, it just teeter tatters in a place that makes me feel
No
highly
one.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
for
No
myself,
one.
but specifically for my daughter.
So your daughter. Yeah. And I listen, so my story is a little different. I was a teenage mom. So when I was 16, yeah, because he was born when I was 17, yeah. So I'm trying to go back. So when I was 16, I had been with my boyfriend for, I think it was almost a year and a half. And he obviously my first real boyfriend, my first everything. And so I was faced with a choice that I was pregnant, and I think I got and looking back again, it's all about like how we talk to women and girls, and teenage girls and young adults about their bodies and what they have, birth controls, reproductive rights, all those things. But I got faced with that choice of having to pregnant at 16. Literally, I was the MTV before MTV existed, with that, before that show. 16 and pregnant, that was me. It's me. And so I was faced with this choice, and I remember having to I no one was there to tell me. There was no healthcare physician. There was nobody that I felt safe that I could go to and say, I have this is what my journey is right now. And I was not provided choices. I was not given a choice. The choice that I got was kind of like a black alley situation where it was like, oh, you bought a pregnancy test, and some guy at the pharmacist goes and tells my boyfriend, well, if it's something that if she gets pregnant, just have her come here. We'll give her a couple pills, and the problem will be gone. But that choice was never presented to me. I never got those choices the way that you might have gotten them presented to you. Where was the counselor? Where was the other the people, that the team that I could go to and say, the healthcare professional that I could go to and say, hey, listen, I I'm 16. I am pregnant. What are my choices? What can happen? I know at that time that I didn't know at that time all the choices that women had at one point, where they could have adoption as a choice, they could have abortion as a choice, they could have having the baby, they could have, so many different choices that I could have that were never presented to me. And my choice obviously came from, and I don't know, looking back in hindsight, it was a very scary time. Obviously, you're 16, you don't know what you're doing. You have this life-changing decision ahead of you. But I made a choice. For me, that was the choice that made sense for me. I kept my son. He's now going to be 25 years old. Was it a rough road? 100% it was, but it made me think, now that I'm an adult, and I got, again, hindsight is 2020, and I have a daughter, what are the conversations that I need to have with her? I want her to be able to know that if faced with that situation, even if faced with, let's not even start with teen pregnancy, faced with a situation where she wants to have sexual relationships with her boyfriend, what are your choices? You can have birth control. There's plan B. There's this. You can choose to not have sex with your boyfriend. So there's all these choices that I don't think that I didn't get. And again, I came from a town and a country that was very conservative. And it was obviously frowned upon. You don't have sexual relationships with your boyfriend. Uh, Now we know it's a reality, and it happens. It will happen. It doesn't matter how good of a girl you are, what you consider a good girl, it
Yeah.
will happen. So, it just, I think that it opened up my eyes now that I'm raising my daughter as to the conversations that I need to have, and allowing her to be able to. It's scary for her to think that she will not have those choices. Even if I want to talk to them about, I can be like, oh yeah, if that faced with you, you can get an abortion. Guess what? There's a ban of abortion in Texas. We live in Texas. So, but to have those conversations, to me, is what's important. And I I don't think that, and I think that it empowers women, it empowers girls, it empowers people, but we are, again, this was 25 years old. I was not given that opportunity. Do I regret it? 100% I did not. But my choice was mine, and I have a family that supported me entirely through the whole thing. Not only my family, but his family. But not a lot of girls get that. Not a lot of girls get that opportunity to have families that support them, not only financially. Let's not talk about financially, psychologically. My parents were very proactive. They immediately knew this was coming. They got us counselors, they got a psychologist, not only for me, for the whole family, because it was a
For
family
me.
affair. For you, for even for our 4-year-old brother, we got counseling. So
We
it
got
was
family counseling.
family counseling, the whole
I
nine.
remember. ¿Cómo se llamaba la psicóloga?
No me acuerdo, o
No me
sea,
acuerdo. She gave me a
well,
book.
yes, yes. Pero,
But
these
you're
are
right.
things,
Not everybody has the support system, and you know, it's something that is important for women
yeah,
to have those choices, and as a society for us to be able to support girls and women in this aspect. Me había venido algo a la cabeza y se me olvidó de algo súper importante que pensé.
Well, y como dices tú, no, it's not only that, it's just a matter of being able to have the conversations. Those
Of hard
conversations are
conversations,
important.
yeah.
The hard conversations, being able to have those conversations with your daughters, and it starts when they're young for me. And I think that it starts when they're starting when they're little, respecting their bodies, making sure that they know their body is theirs. No one is supposed to do. It's their body, their choice, their body. They're allowed to feel these emotions. They're allowed to, if you're going to have sex, what are we going to do about it? How are you going to go about it? Having those conversations. And again, it might be because I went through what I went through. So I want to make sure that my daughter is educated and knows what her options are. Um, my husband might not agree with me. He might be like, "What are you talking about sex with your daughter? What she?" Because none of us want our kids to talk about sex.
Obviamente. But I also think as this is what I was going to say, que se me olvidó. Not only as a girl mom is it important, but as a boy mom it's important.
Mhm.
Because I'm not talking to Olivia about these topics because Olivia's 4, but I have an
Yeah.
11-year-old boy. And it's
Yes.
also important for me to talk about this with him and
Yes.
normalize all these things so that because he is also going to make an impact
Mhm.
as a husband, as a friend, as a brother. And I think
Mhm.
that we hyper focus on girls, but it's also very important
Conversation with
to
men.
having
Yeah.
those conversations with boys where
Yes.
ya no es, o sea, que no sea como que, ay, esa niñita es medio putonga porque tiene 1000 novios. Like, no, why? Ah, pero el niño, ¿cuántas novias tiene?
Ya
Like,
tienes.
no. Like,
I know.
I feel that it's a two-part where
Yes.
it's not only letting girls know and empowering them, but also really, really opening. And I didn't really put this into practice until I had Olivia. And I, sometimes, my household has always been very
Sí,
traditional,
sí,
gender
very
specific
traditional.
roles, and I
Mhm.
believe in that. That's something that I believe that as a family unit. I believe in those things, but I also do believe in empowering women and women having choices. And just because that's what I choose for myself doesn't mean that my daughter has to do that or that anybody else has to do that or that you know I look at her being una mamá que trabaja y no cuidando a sus chiquitos. Like, no, I don't think that way. But I
Right.
also want to make sure that it's equal parts with my son, where he can see that not all houses are like that, and
Yeah.
that women can take up space, and that women
Yes.
can take up, because just because you have traditional roles in my house, nuestra mamá has always had a traditional
Traditional
stay-at-home
role.
mom role,
Yeah.
but my mom takes up space, a lot of
Yes.
space.
Too much sometimes.
Like, my mom is not un little church mouse. No, señora. My mom takes up space. My mom has opinions. My mom really rules my house.
She does.
That is okay. Like,
Yeah.
you can have one for the other. And I think that that's really, really important for both girls and boys to understand.
Yes.
I think that all intertwines because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, the only thing that we can control is our home,
Yeah.
and how we create change so that we
Hmm.
can ensure that our girls have rights and all those
Yeah.
things through both of them, through both
Yes.
girls and like
Boys.
education and empowering on both of them.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
I think that that's very, very important
Yeah.
because it's hard as a woman. It's hard. I mean, not only are we getting our all these things with reproduction rights and all these things, but also girl world is tough.
Girl
and
world is very tough.
and you know the second thing that we wanted to touch on this podcast was women supporting women and
Yes.
mean girls,
Oh,
because sometimes we as women, and I include myself because I was a mean girl when I was growing up. I was a mean
we've
girl
all we've all had
because
our mean girl moment. Yeah.
in 2004 Mean Girls came out, and being Regina George was cool, and You Can't Sit With Us was a thing. And early 2000s and
2000.
2010s were extremely, now looking back, extremely toxic. So I know that I was a really big mean girl, and now looking back, I'm horrified by it. And like,
You did something about it. You did something about it. That's the key.
no,
That's the
yeah,
key.
but you know what?
Yes.
And I really don't ever want my daughter
To
to
go through that.
experience that on
Yeah.
either side, her being a mean girl or
Yeah. Or having to be in the
receiving end of being a mean
receiving end of being a mean girl. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, I think that sometimes you're right. We as women, we are, and I think that it has to do a lot with sometimes even society when this whole thing about, you know, at one point it was okay for us to call each other, and still to this day call each other bitches and hoes, and um and say, why are you looking at my man, and my body's better than yours, and and mean girls come in all shapes and colors and sizes, and it could be a mean mommy in the sense that a mean mommy friend, it could be in high school. I mean, it's like
mean
we
mommy
still
friends.
me and mommy friends are so bad for you. But I think that sometimes we forget that we are being a part of that. So because that's how much we were raised to be. So it's especially for our generation, so we have to really
Millennial
take
moms.
the millennial moms. So we really have to pull ourselves back and be like, wait a minute. Like, this is what our daughters are seeing. So for me, it's always like a matter of like, and my husband's very good at this. My husband, I swear, he's more of a sometimes of a better mommy than I am. But my husband is one of those that he will say to me, he'll pull me aside and be like, Dana, remember, you have to watch how you talk and how you say things because Emma is listening. And I'm glad that he's being that way with me because it's hard sometimes. You're so used to it that you're like, wait a minute, where am I coming from? Why am I, anything from being mean to yourself, body shaming yourself and comparing yourself to other women and like, chisme, like, so
Pero
it
a mí me
really
gusta un buen chisme, just a healthy
un
buen
buen
chisme.
chisme, a healthy is fine, pero cuando it becomes toxic and it
Yeah.
becomes like you're putting that you're really scrutinizing the other person, and so I'm glad that he's able to do that. Talk about a man that's evolved. Um, so, pero bueno, going to this whole thing about women and the mean girl toxicity, I think that we're seeing a lot, like the generation. Let me talk about Emma. Her friends constantly are like, "Oh my God, you're so good at this, and you look so pretty in that." And they're constantly throwing it. When I observe them, they're constantly throwing to each other these encouraging words and positive words about themselves. And oh, you look so good with that. That looks so. You're so nice, and I love you because of this, this, and that. They use that word freely. At one point, I was like, "Why do they say I love you for everything?" But the way that they communicate with themselves, and I'm seeing it from my daughter's perspective, and for her group of friends, and I'm like obsessed because they're encouraged. They don't realize what they're doing. They're encouraging themselves to. They're really rallying again, like they're really good rallying each
A
other.
hype
Like
girl. Ellas son las hype girls of
ellas
each
son las
other.
hype girls of each other. And I love that. I'm like, where did they learn to do this? I mean, I hope I taught it to her at some point, but I don't think I can take all the, I think that let me rephrase that. We can take some of the credit because we were we grew up in a very, like, a lot of it, like you said, like those two early 2000s, 2010s, very toxic. And I think we all went like, wait a minute,
We're not
let's
doing
stop
this
right
anymore.
there. We're not doing this anymore. Our girls are here, and let's raise women that are going to hype each other up, and in the right way. They're going to
Amen.
they're going to say, "Hey, you're cringy. I'm joining you. You're a size 16. Let's go for it. You look beautiful in your size 16. No one has to be. I'm never gonna be a size 0. I'm a I'm a big booty woman, and I used to hate it. I used to hate it. I got superlative for the best butt in my high school, and I hated every second of it because I'm like, it's so big, it's so obnoxious. Why? I love it. It's big, it's obnoxious, it's there. Come, there's people that pay for it. I don't have to pay for it. So let's do so seeing that is just like, I'm like, I hope that they continue on to this, being these hype girls and really empowering themselves. And it was really, it's really refreshing to see them be that way. um and to actually, like Emma would say, oh, she wasn't that nice to me, and or she's not a very nice person, so I'll stay away from her. Recognizing to stay away from toxicity is also like so important. So yeah, I'm excited for this generation of women that we're raising. Hopefully we can give them, and I think that that's important, we need to give them a world that they continue, that doesn't beat them down and continues to do this.
Yeah.
We have to create that for them. We have to fight for them to have this, continue on to this, um this attitude of, we can do it, let's do it, we're gonna do it, we are gonna create our own thing, we're gonna step away from toxicity, we're gonna just do it.
I
um
agree. I think that we've come a long way with girls nowadays, and it's 2024. The vibes are to be a girl's girl, like
yes.
not a pick me girl. Like no
No.
estamos para eso. And I think that that overall, again, I talk about the microcosm and things and how it trickles down. I think that we had always been this mean girl attitude, and I struggled with it for the better of my teenage years and my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I think que es importante to continue to try to support each other and
Yeah.
really celebrate the magic of people individually. And it's hard. It's hard because todavía hay gente que es mean, and it's
Mm-hmm.
recognizing in yourself that that mean comment is not about you, or that
Mm-hmm.
mean attitude is not about you, it's more about the other person, and having that understanding and empathy, and not having that reaction of si eres grosera conmigo, soy grosera contigo y te voy a dar el attitude. It's just, maybe something's going on. Even with your intimate relationships con tus amigas y con tu hermana, like con mi hermana, si yo le digo algo así como con actitud a mi hermana, I know that she has the ability to see, like, she's
It's
just
not
she's
right.
having a
She's
bad
going through a
day,
moment, right?
and vice versa.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
because it's difícil. Like, I know that in One Piece grade, they're 10, 11, they're in fifth grade, and I know that there has been certain struggles with girls because One Piece school has a very strong dancing program. There's a lot of competition.
Oh yeah.
I was having a conversation with one of the moms because she was like, look, my daughter got a piece, and they have the other girls from the group, since they're in fifth grade, only like two of them get a solo piece.
Mm-hmm.
As they go up in like sixth, seventh grade, they start getting
Right.
more and more pieces. But the first year in fifth grade, where it becomes like they're part of this mastery program, she was asking another mom, like, how did your daughter deal with it? Because her daughter's already in 10th grade. She passed through the program and whatever, because there's a lot of girls that are being mean to her. And I was horrified. And I was like, what do
Because
you
they're
mean?
being mean. Wait, they're being mean to her because she got the piece.
Aha. And I was like,
Wow.
what? And the
Okay.
older mom, like, not the older mom, the mom that had the older daughter was like, yeah, eso pasa. And we had a conversation. I'm like, first of all, like, I'm all for telling your daughter to be okay with it or whatever, but I would have a conversation con la otra mamá, because la otra mamá probablemente
Yeah, no
sometimes
sabe.
it's in our nature to, as humans, compare and be jealous, because eso pasa. Like, eh, eh, es también enseñarle a la otra niña como que when you have those feelings, what does it make you feel? Instead of wanting to tear somebody down, maybe how do we learn from that other person?
Yes,
And
yes,
if they can do it, we can do it. And how can we learn and be better ourselves for what we want to do and encourage the other person, and everybody can win? And I was amazed, because I was like, no, 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 it's 2024. Yeah, teach her how to be like, que sea buena y todo, pero también I feel that it's two-part, where
yeah,
next time when she doesn't get the solo, she needs to celebrate her friends and
yes,
not, because they
agree.
celebrate her, not celebrate them back. And she's like, no, yeah, of course, it's just girl world is so hard.
It
And
is.
I
Girl
feel
world
that
is
we do
hard.
have come a long way, but I feel that we also have a
There,
lot of work that we can, it's
there's a lot of room for growth, obviously. We have a lot of ways to go, and I think that sometimes the world doesn't, we go three, we go, hacemos tres pasos and then tres pasos para atrás, like, so it's a give and take. But I think we've had made some waves in terms of recognizing and what's going on, and even you being able to say, hey, listen, this is not okay. Like, have those conversations as moms and say, hey, esto está pasando. Like, my daughter is feeling like estas niñas are not being nice to her because she got the piece, or vice versa. Like, el cogió el piece is being mean to the other ones because she got the piece. Like, being able to have those conversations, I think, is also that means that there's been some change going on. But yeah, dance world, and it's very competitive. Emma has been seeing Dance Moms, and I kind of I kind of hesitate for her watching that, porque
great.
dance. Oh my God! Like, Dance Moms are that
Yes.
show in particular is like,
Denso.
but it's very intense. So after she watched it, she started watching it. I sat down with her and I said, "Hey, listen, let's talk about this, because I do feel it's important that what she's seeing, I can put all the parental control. This was in Disney Plus, I want to say. Like, it wasn't like, and on her account, she has it limited where she cannot even see Marvel superhero movies because of the ratings that they have. So she has to go through like one of our accounts to see that. So I can try to monitor as much as what she sees, but I had that conversation with her afterwards and being like, because I saw it and I saw it with her a couple of episodes, and I'm like, wait, let me explain to you what's going on and what is okay and what's not okay. Just know that this is made for TV. This was at another time also, because this was like early 2000s. You should see the makeup and the hair. But this was like at another time. So having that conversation with her to let her know that this is, some of these relationships are not, especially because my daughter is in a theater group and she will be faced with those situations where she will not get the not everybody can be Matilda, and not everybody can be, the Violet at Willy Wonka. Like,
The number
there's
one girl in the group.
the number
It
one
can't
girl in the group.
happen.
It can't. So how do we make it? And I think that her theater group, I'm gonna give props to her theater group. They really do make sure that it's a team effort. So, they say, some of the ensemble, what they call it, ensemble, so the ones that are not leading roles, they say they sometimes are more important because they're the ones that are going to help to hype, to bring it to life, to help their main characters. They're going to, and so it's all a whole thing. It's a whole production. Everybody's part is just as equally important. So yeah, but I think I went on a tangent, but regardless,
No, but
I think,
verdad. Like, it's the way that you
yeah,
frame it.
yes,
And I think that that's why it's so important. And it can be done. Like, dance and competition and cheer and all those things are naturally, it's a competition. You want to be number
Competition.
one, but it's also how you frame it, where, and that's why it's important for us like moms to have those conversations with other moms, porque a veces a uno le da miedo como que la otra mamá is going to take it the wrong way y yo no sé qué y esta cosa. But I feel that overall, if the sentiment es bueno
Yeah.
and it comes from a place of love,
Yeah.
then it should be okay, like to have those conversations, because at the end of the world, at the day, ni la mamá de la niña that's being a mean girl wants her daughter to be a mean girl.
Yeah.
The other
Correcto.
person at the receiving end tampoco. So it's just
Yeah.
about talking and sharing, and
Yeah.
having that same type of vibe, so that the girls can continue to thrive. Where mean girls is not it. Like, you can sit with us. Let's be friends. I want to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Like, we will not be best friends, pero yo me quiero poder llevar bien con todo el mundo. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
cero mala vibra, cero estrés, like, ese Regina George, you can't sit with us, is not the vibe for 2024. Like,
Okay.
por favor, like, no. Se quedó in the 2000s, like nada que ver. And I feel that it goes through all the stages. We saw it, I saw it in the dance thing, but I also saw it as a 30-ish mom, somebody calling me cringe on
That is
Instagram.
crazy. That is crazy. That is the epitome of like what? Like, why are you being a mean girl? Like, why? Or like the Ozempic thing. For me, that did it for me too. Like, if I want to be on Ozempic, let me be on
Yes.
Ozempic.
Yes.
Like, don't, or maybe I really, like, they didn't know what you were going through. So instead of immediately jumping into that bandwagon of being a mean girl and judging people because they're on Ozempic, or they may not be, or they, listen, just applaud them. Oh, you lost weight, you look fantastic. And again, why are we having these conversations? Men are not going out there being like, oh, are you on a Ozempic, or are you on this, or they're not out there doing that. So let's don't think about it. I had somebody that I know that whenever there's like a really fit woman walking by, or like, she's like, oh, she probably doesn't eat anything. And I'm like, well, we don't know that. Maybe she eats, everything's proteins, or maybe that's just her genetics, or maybe she does work out a lot, or maybe that's just her lifestyle. And there's genetics. There's people that like can eat and different things and they don't gain an ounce, and there's people that eat one thing and gain 5,000. So why are we instead of saying, "Oh my God, she looks so good. She, she looks great." Why are we putting each other down? Let's not do that anymore. We're
That
done.
was 2000, early 2000 vibes. Because let me tell you something. I used to be like that. Si yo veía una tipa que tenía un cuerpazo, esa no come. And now, where I am at right now in my life, I'm more like, that was, I don't know, 15 years ago, 12 years ago, que yo, antes de tener hijos. And it was based on that mean girl mentality. Hoy por hoy, yo veo una persona que is fit and whatever. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Yo también quiero ser
Yo
así.
también, I know. That's
Get
the
on
first
the
thing.
jams. How can we get there? And you're amazing. Like, how are you doing that?
Exacto,
Like,
exacto.
obviamente, I poke and prod y yo, si eres súper cercana a mí, por ejemplo, my sister works out a lot. Y yo siempre
I
la estoy
trust.
molestando, like, ahí va la otra a hacer ejercicio otra vez. We're on vacation, cállate la boca. But it's playful, and we have that type of
Yeah, of
relationship.
banter. Yeah.
Ajá.
And I think that you do it mostly because tú sabes que yo soy crunchy granola, pero uh
Ajá. Pero at the end of the day, siempre le estoy diciendo como que no, estás flaquísima, se te ve súper chévere. Like, if I see a picture of her, I'm always telling her, you look amazing. lo que tenías puesto se te veía súper chévere, estás flaca, o whatever it is, o el pelo se le
There
ve
is,
lindo, whatever, como que,
yeah,
you know, overall, I think it takes the same amount of energy to say an ugly comment than to say a nice comment,
yeah,
or to
nice
not say
comments.
anything at all. And, you know,
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
agree. I agree.
es
I agree with.
importante llevarle, you know, eso a the younger generation. I always make it a point with Nena to be, you know, I compliment her, I compliment her friends, you know, no solamente en lo exterior, sino en lo interior también. They're kind, they're giving, they're, because I feel que eso crea el pattern of, look, Emma now talks to her friends like that, and you
High
create
performance.
that habit of always looking at the good of the other girl and how you can be a, you know, a sisterhood and not in competition where you can't
Yeah,
sit with us type of thing. I think
yeah.
that that's really important, and I feel that it's all it all goes hand in hand. From
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it's a trickle of all the things. I think that the political ambience of women's choices and bodies
Mm-hmm.
it trickles into all the things at a smaller level of how
Yeah,
women girls can
yeah,
communicate and have relationships, and the self-awareness as moms to be able to navigate these things and give our girls a better, you know, and a better girlhood and womanhood where it's more about, you know, supporting each other and not competition. I think
yeah.
it's beautiful. I think it's something that is very, very important. And
See, definitely, definitely. And I think that those conversations need to be continuing. I think that they're happening. I think that we have to continue doing it. I if you think about all the things, for me, 2023 was really telling in how we as how well we hyped up our women, in the sense that, you know, women literally got the economy, like the Taylor Swift of the world, Beyonce, Barbie.
it was the year of the
It
Barbie
was the year.
movie.
It was the year where women showed, like, we are important. We have a voice. We can make an economy boost up, like, and on things that people would have thought that it was frilly, dresses and fashion. Look, we literally, the Eras tour, like, just on friendship bracelets. We probably, you know, um so I think that we have a good set of women that are coming in and setting those examples for for our girls, and we really are fighting to make sure that we have a safe um world for the next generation. I think we are it is kind of scary to think that we are in, with our reproductive rights, especially. That conversation needs to um, we need to really keep fighting for it, because those are important, um, because it's a choice about our bodies, and no one should have a should no one should put that in their as a political agenda. No one should have that. It's our
In one
bodies, our
way or the
choices.
other, like in one way or the
Yeah,
other, not
that
only like, but in one way or the other, it's a decision that
it's
you make on yourself, you
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
the choices should be there for women to have it. No es ni de un lado ni del otro. Simplemente the choices should be there to have whatever it is that you want to do. Because
yeah,
también, on the other token, como que never to be feeling like something that you don't feel comfortable is going to get pushed down your throat.
yeah.
Tampoco.
And I do think that we have to, you know, we have to look at things. I think that some of the things that I think we need to work on is mostly creating safe environments for our girls. So where, and I talk about a lot about safe environments because I'm a firm believer that as women, we sometimes don't feel safe in a lot of places. And, in that safety is a very, it's a term that's very difficult for women. Safe in terms of not only physically, are we physically safe? Are we psychologically and emotionally safe? Like we need to start creating, keep working on creating safe environments for women, for girls, for teens, for young adults, to make sure that they have a place where they can, an adult, someone they can talk to, they can feel safe with, they can have these conversations, they can feel like they need to, somebody that's backing them up, somebody that's like, okay, you went through this, like recognizing, acknowledging their feelings. And that could be not only from anything that they're going through, but it could just be the fact that I'm upset over somebody gaining the piece in the competition versus not having that safe space of being like, it's okay for you to be upset. You can be upset. What can we do about it? Let's like, it's okay for you to cry about it. It's okay for you to feel angry about it. Like having those safe and not being questioned about those things, I think it's so important for us women. And I think we've come a long way, but we still have some ways to go. So we have to keep working on making sure that this is a this is where place where people, where women feel, girls feel safe and feel like they don't have to measure themselves and what are we going to say and how are we going to approach it, and is it okay for me to do this? I think that those are conversations that we have to continue on because they're still occurring. So we have to make sure that we're still continuing to have those, regardless of what's being pushed into our politicals.
I think that you really touched the nail on the head. I think overall, the overarching theme or thread in the conversation that we had today is the importance of having safe places for our daughters, for women, for girls, whether it's a friend, una hermana, tu mamá, tu hija, overall for safe places for those conversations to happen so that we can make it a better, community or environment. Okay, cute. A better community and sisterhood that we can have, so that we can all thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, 2023 was a year of the Barbie movie. I say that a lot, but it's true. And,
Mm-hmm.
we're having this conversation because it's Women's Month, but I think that these are conversations that need to be happening in our homes every day. And I say
Every
that
day.
to myself because sometimes también I need to apply that to myself and I need to hear that for myself
Mm-hmm.
personally, where it's okay for me to take up space and to find, voy a llorar otra vez, to find safe environments where,
Yeah.
because I think about the only way that I can ensure that my daughter will have that is by me living it también. Es
Yeah. Yeah.
importante.
Yep.
So, ya no
Yeah.
voy a llorar más, voy a llorar un montón. But it was a great conversation, and I think that
Yeah.
we, I love to see how our girls are gonna grow up and how we, and I love to have a sister.
I know, it is. And we came from
To
a
have a
very,
whole conversation on an
we should
episode
have
of the
all
importance of having a
sisters.
sister.
But I do think that we grew up, we've been very privileged in the sense that we grew up in a very matriarchal family. Las mujeres de la familia de nosotros are very strong women, and it's strong in the sense, like you said, they are
But
very
very traditional roles,
traditional roles,
gender
but they're
roles.
very strong, and
Yes.
they have really taken the time with the tools that they were provided and
The
in the
few
environment that they
tools.
grew, exactly, in the environment that they grew up in, to raise women that are strong, independent. I have never once questioned. I questioned it? Yes, because I'm an anxiety ridden pool of, but I know that I have somebody that's always being my hype woman. And my mom has always been there. My tias have always been there. They've always taught us like, hey, you can do this, and we were raised to have voices and really loud voices. So I think that also stems we also stem from that. We've been able to become and be very conscious of raising our daughters that way because we have come from a long line of very strong, voicey women that have a lot of opinions. Have a lot, and so that's been good. Yeah. So, but to close it off, happy International Women's Month. It's
All the women out
to
there.
all the women out there, the young women, the older women, the millennial women. um, and let's keep having these conversations, not just for Women International Month. Like, let's keep having them all the time. Let's reassess. Let us know what your thoughts are when it comes to like things that bother you about being a woman. Maybe that should be a whole podcast. Like, what does it bother you about being a woman?
I,
What does it make you proud of being a woman? Let's keep having these conversations. I think
yeah,
that
that's
that's
important.
important.
And
Yeah.
always, always continue sharing your magic, amiga. That is the most important part. We're so happy that you listen. If you listen until the end, we appreciate you and love you.
Yeah. Yeah.